Okay, if I could ask those leaving the public gallery to do so as quickly and as quietly as possible as we resume business. And the next item of business is a members' business debate on motion 20393, the name of Clare Hawkey, on the 900th anniversary of Rutherglen as a royal borough. The debate will be concluded without any questions being put. I'd invite members wishing to participate to press the request to speak buttons. I call on Clare Hawkey to open the debate around 7 minutes.
Thank you, Presiding Officer, and I'm absolutely delighted to secure this debate today to mark the 900th anniversary of Rutherglen being granted royal borough status by King David I, which gave it special trading rights and underlined its place of importance in medieval Scotland. I have the tremendous honour of representing Rutherglen, my hometown, where I was brought up, where I brought up my family and where I still live today. And I could say a great deal about our town, but fear I'm only going to be able to scratch the surface in the time available to me. Because Rutherglen is one of those places where everywhere you turn, you see something of its fascinating history. My constituency office is situated on Rutherglen Main Street. It's a particularly wide street because it was the place to be to trade horses from the 1600s. And with time, fairs there were held 12 times a year. A few steps from my office is Old Parish Church, which has been a site of Christian worship for at least 1400 years and is believed Druid worship before that. John Menteith betrayed William Wallace there in 1305, and the Scottish Parliament also sat there. And set in its boundary walls is a statue of Dr James Gorman, who treated Ruglonians long before the NHS was established, often for no or little charge, and during some of Lanarkshire's worst mining disasters. A few more steps takes you to the Town Hall, completed in 1862, where civic leaders decided a new one was needed after significant population expansion. Near the Town Hall is the Mercat Cross, a 100-year-old replica of the original, to which the Covenanters nailed their 1679 Declaration of Rutherglen. And behind my office runs King Street, where Rutherglen Castle sat at its junction with Castle Street. Built in the 13th century, its 5-foot-thick walls made it a crucial stronghold during the Wars of Independence, which was besieged several times by Robert the Bruce. Now, I remember our colleague Jamie Hepburn speaking about his hometown, Cumbernauld, during a members' debate, joking about how many towns claim a link to Mary Queen of Scots. And not wishing to disappoint in this regard, I can say that Mary led a march to Rutherglen Castle in 1568 to round up her supporters before her journey west. A year later, it was burnt to the ground by the Earl of Moray to punish the Hamilton family for supporting her at the Battle of Langside. Presiding Officer, I could spend all afternoon talking about Rutherglen's history, from Galliflat Tumulus, a 2nd century Roman burial site, the coracles that travelled up and down the Clyde to and from Rutherglen in the 12th century, or the steamships built there in the 19th century, or how James Watt designed a bridge for the town before his tinkering with steam engines allowed its steel, chemical and textile industries to flourish. The historic areas near the centre, such as Bankhead, Burnhill and Galliflat, have changed hugely over the years, and the village of Burnside has expanded greatly. And post-war developments on farms and estates in Blairbeth, Cathkin, Eastfield, Fernhill, Spittal and Spring Hall are now well-established communities, each place with its own distinct identity, but firmly and proudly part of Rutherglen's story. I also remember Mr Hepburn mentioning the legendary broadcaster Magnus Magnusson. Well, he married the journalist Marnie Baird in Wardlaw Hill Parish Church before living in Calderwood Road for many years. Their daughter Sally, of course, became a renowned broadcaster, and she set her novel Music in the Dark in a Rutherglen tenement after growing up in the town. And in a list of notable Ruglonians, I could also include actors Robbie Coltrane, Janet Brown, Scott Kyle and Stan Laurel. Or the poet Edward Morgan, fashion designer Jonathan Saunders, or musicians like Midge and Audrey Tate. John Logie Baird lived a few hundred yards from where CCTV Limited now display a beautiful vintage television in their shop window. Infamously, he once fused all the lights in the town, which hastened his departure from his job at the local power station. And there's a wheen of sports people, from Steve Archibald, who went from Fernhill Athletic to Barcelona, or Rutherglen ladies captain Sadie Smith, who battled against the odds even to play at a time when women's football was banned in England and deemed quite unsuitable in Scotland. Again, this could be a very long list. Rutherglenians have truly made their mark on the world. When the 900th anniversary of our town's borough status was approaching, there grew a real desire to mark the occasion, to take the chance to reflect on who we are, where we've come from and where we're going. And Rutherglen 900 was born, a community-led initiative built on collaboration between local people, organisations, schools, community groups and volunteers. It's thanks to this large community network, which includes Healthy and Happy Community Development Trust, Camglen Radio, heritage organisations, schools, artists, sports groups and local residents who were keen to give back to their community. And I'm delighted to have the opportunity to thank each and every person who has given up their time to organise the wonderful programme of events which will mark our town's milestone year. And not only that, but to thank them for all their efforts, not just this year, but every year, and indeed every day, to support local residents. And I would urge anyone listening to visit the Rutherglen 900 website to see the depth and breadth of the programme they've put together. There truly is something for everyone. Our town will host walking and vintage bus tours highlighting local landmarks and exploring Rutherglen's radical history of social activism, a community picnic and a sing-along event, multiple talks and exhibitions, sporting events, a live comedy, dance and music event, including the town's very first Mela and an inaugural book festival. There's a packed schools programme with events for children and young people every month this year. And it was an absolute treat to hear the debut performance of the Song of Rutherglen at the Rutherglen 900 launch event in the Town Hall last Friday, beautifully sung by pupils from each local school. If you're in the right place at the right time, you might even bump into the official mascot, Doogie the Pigeon, designed by Emma from St Anthony's Primary School. Whether you call it Rutherglen, Ruglen, Ruggie, there's a lot happening in our town this year as always, and there's much to celebrate about our people and organisations who make it such a great place to live and work. I'm thoroughly looking forward to all the opportunities that we'll have to celebrate, to reminisce and to look to our town's future over the next year. And Rutherglen's ready to welcome all who would like to join us.
Thank you, Ms Hawking. We'll move to the open debate. I call first Annie Wells to be followed by Bob Doris. Around 4 minutes, Ms Wells.
Thank you, Presiding Officer, and I would like to congratulate Claire Hawking on bringing this debate to the Chamber today. And I really enjoyed your speech there about all the history of Rutherglen. It is a privilege to speak today about the 900 years of Rutherglen, and my dad would call it Ruglen. But one of Scotland's oldest royal boroughs and a town with a proud and distinct identity. Rutherglen is not a place you talk about in the abstract. It is a place people remember, and it's a place people know well. And it's a place I know well growing up. Over the years, I spent a great deal of time in the town visiting schools, meeting community groups, speaking with local traders, and of course spending my youth in some of the pubs in Rutherglen on and off the main street. But I've seen firsthand how Rutherglen has changed, adapted and endured. I also have many fond personal memories rooted in the area. Many of my friends lived in Rutherglen, and I often find myself recalling the old days with affection and fond memories of time spent in and around the town, in places on the streets that I knew well during the late 80s and 90s, early 90s, I'll say early 90s, heading to the video shop Main Street with friends and then walking through Overton Park. And it gave you a great sense of community to know that there was places around about there. And it gave you the sense of community and character of that area. And I was married almost, 1992, 34 years ago, and I got married. I had my wedding reception at the nearby Kings Park Hotel, because that was a place that we kind of knew well, and it represented both Glasgow and Rutherglen, where we were from. But more recently, I've enjoyed simply taking walks around the area and reflecting on how it has evolved, how familiar streets have changed, but the character and warmth of the community has remained, Presiding Officer. And as Ms Hawkey says, today Rutherglen continues to be shaped by independent businesses and local employers who have chosen to invest here. Long-standing firms remain a familiar presence, while smaller cafes, family-run shops and service businesses along Main Street and the surrounding area continue to provide not just jobs, but connection and community. These are businesses run by people who care deeply about the town and its future. And I recently had the opportunity to visit Rutherglen High School to see their eco-project, led by pupils who are passionate about sustainability and improving their local environment. And what impressed me most was not just the ambition of the project, but the pride of the young people who took part in contributing positively to their community. And I absolutely believe that we need to take pride in our communities, and I think we see that abundantly clear in Rutherglen, in Burnside and Cambuslang. And it was a powerful reminder that Rutherglen's future is being shaped by young people who care deeply about where they live. Rutherglen, as we've heard, has also produced an extraordinary amount of talent over the years across sport, culture, business and public life. And that is no accident. The town has strong links to figures such as we've heard, Stan Laurel, one half of the most iconic, I would say, comic double act in history, Laurel and Hardy. I was one and my dad was the other one. You can decide what one we were. And I'll take an intervention from Paul Sweeney.
Paul Sweeney.
Thank the member for giving way on that point. I think the connection with Stan Laurel is one that shows the closeness between Ruglonians and Glaswegians, because of course Stan Laurel cut his teeth on the boards of the Britannia Panoptica Music Hall in Glasgow's Trongate. And whether it was the original construction of Glasgow Cathedral to the shared relationship we have with our transport systems, even the 21-year experiment that Rutherglen had as part of Glasgow District Council, there's an indelible link between the city of Glasgow and Rutherglen, and long may that flourish, particularly through projects like Clyde Gateway. Annie Wells, I can give you
and I thank Mr Sweeney for that intervention. And of course, we do have that joint connectivity as well. We're not that far away, and it's good that we can work together on certain projects. And we've heard Glasgow's 850 years old this year as well, so you are beating us by 50 years. So, but as a regional MSP, I can take a bit of credit for both. But it's also been associated with brilliant comic talent closer to home, as we've heard, including Janet Brown, well known for her unforgettable impression of Margaret Thatcher, which, presiding officer, I promise to take in good-humoured spirit, in which is intended, even as a proud Tory in the building. But this all reflects a town that nurtures ambition, resilience and a strong sense of belonging. As we mark this remarkable anniversary, it is clear that Rutherglen's story is not just one of history, but one of ongoing contribution, pride and potential, and happy 900 years. Thank you, Presiding Officer.
Thank you, Ms Wells. And I call Bob Doris to be followed by Monica Lynn in around 4 minutes. Mr Doris.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Can I start by congratulating Clare Hockey for securing the debate here this afternoon, celebrating the 900th anniversary of Rutherglen as a royal borough. My goodness, I'm glad I'm not living 900 years ago. Clare Hockey's put on record the intrigue, treachery and treason that's taken place in Rutherglen. I'm sure the place has moved on considerably from those, I hope, from those medieval times. I know that Clare's a real champion for Rutherglen. I think that came out quite clearly in Clare Hockey's speech. To hear her speak so passionately about the community-led Rutherglen 900 project. I was also pleased to hear Clare talk about the kind of healthy and happy aspects of them being part of this community-led project, and Camglen the Radio. Just a couple of organisations that I know quite well from my days as a regional MSP. Clare Hockey also went through a list of famous people from Rutherglen. I was scoring out my list of people I was going to name check as they were going on. Bobby Murdoch was on the list as well, he didn't mention. But actually, I would ask, who is Nellie Hunter? Because Nellie Hunter, I didn't know until a couple of hours ago, is a suffragist from Rutherglen, and there's an exhibition all about Nellie Hunter at the Library and Heritage Centre in just a few days' time. That's the point of celebrating your history. Those histories that are lost through time, that are remarkable people, the social fabric of all communities. I'm delighted that there's events such as that taking place for Rutherglen. So my connection with Rutherglen only goes back to 2007, of course, when I became a regional MSP for Glasgow Region. Something I fulfilled until becoming a constituency MSP for Glasgow, Maryhill and Springburn in 2016. Now, let me be clear, I'm not saying that Rutherglen's part of Glasgow. Heaven forfend, I should say that. Or even sometimes for some people that they're part of Lanarkshire. They are Ruglonians first and foremost. Welcome, inclusive and passionate Ruglonians. unless things have changed, Miss Hockey, I think that's still how they would view themselves. I want to give some personal reflections in my time in Rutherglen. I well remember my monthly surgery in the King Street Council buildings in the town over the years. And I also recall, members what we're saying, so my regular SNP meetings at St Columkille's Church Hall, where you would have to compete with the Irish dancing that takes place in there, and also the many hoolies that have now and again been part of at St Columkille's Church Hall. I hope that's all still going strong. And if I was very lucky, I would have the occasional pint at Dr Gorman's pub after one of those branch meetings. I understand it is no longer Dr Gorman's today. That's a backward step. Good luck to the new owners, but that's a backward step as far as I'm concerned. But I wanted to mention that because I used to go there with the late Councillor Gordon Clark. That was very much his local. I was saddened by Gordon's recent passing, and I want to put on record in this place the contribution Gordon made to public life and to the Rutherglen community over many years, including 10 years as a local councillor. My highlight whilst a regional MSP covering Rutherglen was always my annual attendance. I would be in trouble if I didn't go at Landomer Day with the late Gordon Clark and many others, some sadly no longer with us. And I would just like to mention Councillor Claire McCall and Councillor Anne Higgins, who are no longer with us, and friends across all parties with their own memories of people who are no longer with us. But I want to put those names on record, Presiding Officer. I always had a wonderful time at Landomer Day, supported by the people of Rutherglen and their thousands each and every year. Always a passionate, vibrant and lovely demonstration of Rutherglen civic pride and creative endeavour. I hadn't known Landomer Day only recommenced in 1974, having fallen into abeyance in 1926, something I learned in preparation for today's debate. And I'm also pleased that it's bounced back so strongly since COVID-19. In closing, Presiding Officer, I just want to say that it's really important that all communities celebrate such landmarks. I had a members' debate in here not that long ago about Summerston, where I stay, celebrating 50 years. The church I go to in Mary Hill will be celebrating their 50 years anniversary, but it's not really about the numbers of how many years a community has been in existence. It's about the people who knit together that community in such a beautiful, wonderful, vibrant and diverse way. And that's how I think about Rutherglen. It was a privilege to represent it for a small period of time. Those that represent it, including Claire Hockey, you're all very lucky and very privileged, and happy birthday to Rutherglen.
Thank you, Mr Doris. Now call the final speaker in the open debate, Monica Lennon. Again, around 4 minutes.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I'd like to congratulate Claire Hockey on securing this debate, and it's been lovely to hear the contributions so far. Everyone's so enthusiastic about Rutherglen and the many things that it's famous for, and the longer you sit here you think of something else it's worth mentioning. So I'll add to that SCIAF, which was founded in Rutherglen, and there was a wonderful mass just in recent months in St Columkille's Church in Rutherglen. Again, another reason to celebrate the wonderful town that is Rutherglen. Of course, 2026 is the year of Rutherglen, and I think the calendar of events and projects that Rutherglen 900 has pulled together, which really is a testament to communities. It's a grassroots endeavour, although the funding and support from Clyde Gateway, South Lanarkshire Council, local businesses and hopefully the Scottish Government too, because I'm sure the Cabinet Secretary will be most welcome at all these events. You know, I think in particular the Book Festival jumps out at me, but I think as Annie Wells and Claire Hockey have said, it's the events that really celebrate Rutherglen's past, retell that for a new generation, and the involvement of the children and young people, especially through the schools, means that there will be a lasting legacy. It's not just come along to some events and then we move on. So I think that the educational work is really quite striking. I think the effort's been made to capture the oral history. I think the oral time capsule, podcasts. I believe that Michael Shanks, the local MP, recorded an episode with Burgh Primary just in the last couple of weeks. All these things really make sure that the stories that we tell each other, you know, are safe to pass on to the next generation. I think it's maybe a pity we're not going to see Bob Doris partaking in some Irish dancing, but you never know. So if the organisers are listening, I think I'm getting agreement from the Cabinet Secretary there. So it's not too late to add that to the programme. But I think, You know, often when we're in the chamber, we're discussing challenges and difficult issues. This is really, you know, an opportunity to think about all the things that make our community so vibrant, all the great work that goes on, all the unsung heroes, and it's a chance to bring people together for a happy occasion. So whether you're from Rutherglen, South Lanarkshire, Glasgow or beyond, this is a cause for national celebration. Rutherglen is a community with a deep, enduring place in our national story, and I hope that everyone will feel welcome to come to Rutherglen to take part in these events, or maybe just to discover Rutherglen for the first time as well. Colleagues have mentioned some of the fantastic organisations that are really at the heart of Rutherglen 900, including Healthy and Happy, and I wish a fond farewell to Brendan Rooney, the Chief Executive, who's retiring, Camglen Radio, that Bob Doris has mentioned, and Rutherglen Heritage Society. When I went along to the AGM of Rutherglen 900 last year, I was quite pleased to see some former town planning colleagues of mine who live locally, and they're very active on the heritage side, but also at bringing together the volunteers. So I want to just finish by saying, of course,
Claire,
of course.
Claire Hockey.
I thank Monica Lennon for giving me the opportunity to also put on record, I'm sure, our joint thanks and the community's thanks to Robert Brown, formerly of the Scottish Parliament, who has chaired the Rutherglen 900 committee, and also all the other committee members who have worked really hard over the last year. I hope Monica Lennon will be able to share my congratulations to them.
Absolutely, and if I'd stuck to my speaking notes, Councillor Robert Brown was one of the first people that I should have mentioned, and actually when I became a South Lanarkshire councillor back in 2012, Robert Brown was the first person to say hello and greet me as a fellow councillor, and we used to sit together in the licensing committee. So I was really pleased to see Councillor Brown expertly chair the AGM a few months ago, and I know that he is completely dedicated, as are all the committee members. So a big thank you to all the volunteers, to everyone who's sponsoring events, to local businesses, and I just hope that everyone has a good time, and I look forward to hearing if the Cabinet Secretary is going to be partaking in any of the events. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms Lennon. I call Angus Robertson, Cabinet Secretary, around 7 minutes.
Thank you very much, and I'm grateful to Claire Hockey for bringing forward this motion and securing the debate today, and I commend her as an outstanding member of the Scottish Parliament for Rutherglen and Cambuslang, and taking the opportunity to highlight what is a tremendous year of celebration for Rutherglen on its 900th year, a celebration, as we've heard, for Rutherglen recognising its past, recognising its present and its future ambitions, and it's fantastic to hear that the Rutherglen community is pulling together to create a year-long festival of events, of exhibitions, of performances to mark this special milestone. And I'd firstly like to thank the various speakers for their valuable, their interesting contributions, to Annie Wells, to Bob Doris, to Monica Lennon, and in the spirit of cross-party agreement, I would be absolutely delighted to second her motion that Bob Doris performs. Dance. I'm not quite sure if it's modern dance, Irish dance, other forms of dance are available. And contemporary. We hear the Parliament updated from a sedentary position, presiding officer, that it will be contemporary dance. And when the dates are confirmed, I am happy that my office will be in touch with Monica Lennon's to make the necessary arrangements for both of us to attend that event. She's raised it to being dance partners. This is going in directions that are not included in my speaking notes or my diary commitments, but I say yes to that. And Monica Lennon pointed out, as others have, to different individuals and organisations founded, present in Rutherglen over the last 900 years, and she highlighted the Scottish Catholic International Aid Fund, and as the Cabinet Secretary responsible for external affairs through that international development, they're a key partner for Scotland and all the good works that they do internationally, and I was unaware of their connections to Rutherglen. Thank Monica Lennon for her contributions and for the intervention of Paul Sweeney, who always has something to add when it comes to the history of different places in Scotland. I'd be happy to.
Monica Lennon.
So So another fantastic organisation has just come to mind, Classrooms for Malawi, who are also based in Rutherglen. And over the years, we've joined forces on the issue of period dignity. And I know that they really appreciate the cross-party work in this Parliament that led to the Period Products Act. So again, within the Minister's portfolio, would you recognise the good work that they do?
Well, I do, but it also underlines something which is, in this case, obviously Rutherglen's, but it's true for the rest of Scotland too, is in the fabric of our communities is not only what happens in their distinct communities, but it's also outward-facing. It's looking to other places in the world, and that is true for Rutherglen as it is everywhere else. And many members, all members, I think drew attention to the importance of volunteers, of Scotland's third sectors, of people who have contributed to the public life of Rutherglen over the years, the contributions to community-led activities, to festivals, to events. And Rutherglen, as we've heard, it shines as a great example of the community working together, honouring Rutherglen's rich history and its bright future, creating a wonderful year of celebrations led by the community, with events ranging from heritage to art to well-being, environmental and sporting activities and much else besides. Thousands of Scotland's cultural and arts groups rely on dedicated volunteers whose time, their efforts are what makes these events so successful. And it's great to see these celebrations bringing together people, organisations, schools and volunteers across Rutherglen. And it's really nice that so many people were recognised right across the chamber for having performed that contribution today and also in the past. And speaking on behalf of the Scottish Government, we value the significant contribution that volunteers make to cultural activity in our communities. And the vast majority of community-level culture is driven by committees of dedicated volunteers, and many community-based cultural events rely on the practical support of volunteers to succeed. So I add my voices to those around the chamber who have put that on the record today as well. To Rutherglen 900 specifically, I was struck by the range of events that are already underway in Rutherglen, and my colleague who has led this debate, there is no competition implied as the member of the Scottish Parliament for Edinburgh Central. Edinburgh celebrated its 900th 2 years ago, so Rutherglen and Edinburgh became royal boroughs at about the same time. So I have some experience of what one has been able to do with a 900th anniversary, and I've taken the time to have a look at the programme for the year, and there is something there for absolutely everybody. And mention has been made already. I add my pointer to this, that there is an amazing amount of information that is on the Rutherglen 900 website. So anybody who is listening or watching and wants to know what's on and when, it's all there. I think I'm right in saying www.rutherglen900, that's a numeric 900.com. Please visit the website, and all the information is there. And the variety of what is on offer and the enthusiasm behind it reflects a key strength of the community. The Rutherglen 900 project, as we've heard, held a successful launch event at Rutherglen Town Hall on the 29th of January. Only a few days ago. The launch featured live bagpipes, historic photographs, school artwork and the debut of the Song of Rutherglen performed by local children from all 10 primary schools. It also included an appearance by Doogie the Pigeon, the newly designed town mascot. Let the records show there was whooping in the chamber at that point for Doogie the Pigeon. Another success was the sold-out performance of Bloom, dance, music and video projections, part Ceilidh, part Japanese dance, which reflects the diversity of the Rutherglen community, a performance that was described as, I quote, beautiful and mesmerising. And the 900 origami peace cranes, a novel art project developed by the Rotary Club of Rutherglen and women from the Nurture Educational and Multicultural Centre in Cambuslang. The cranes represent peace, hope, harmony, community and future happiness. Recognise, of course.
Paul Sweeney.
Just there's so many to discuss, but one that particularly just sprung to mind in the discussion of skills and heritage skills in particular was the destruction of the Overton Park Bandstand in 2024. And it's welcome news that there is funding being committed to restore it, but it just shows the critical nature of Scotland's skills in this kind of conservation area, and particularly with the loss of Ballantine castings recently, the importance of architectural ironwork skills. Hopefully that can be brought to bear in the restoration of Rutherglen's Overton Park bandstand in the coming months.
Cabinet Secretary.
So, as ever, I think I agree with the points that have been made in general. On the castings point that have been raised, I've satisfied myself that efforts have been undertaken to make sure that there is no loss of intellectual property and or history and heritage. I note that my times are... Oh, forgive me, Claire Hoss is seeking to intervene.
Just to add, in terms of the skills and the heritage, that the Rutherglen boundary stones are being recreated in a college in Glasgow, which is helping to develop stonemason skills for the future.
Cabinet Secretary, give us time.
Fantastic. And for those of us who are part and parcel of an ongoing debate about important skills for the heritage sector, we know how important stonemasonry is. So it's really, really excellent to hear. Presiding Officer, I'm looking at the clock. I realise I'm over time. So was that an attempt at an intervention from Bob Doris? It will be very short.
Bob Doris.
It was a comment for a secondary position, Cabinet Secretary, so I apologise that I'm now doing this as an intervention. In my research, I found it was actually stonemasons from Rutherglen that put in the foundation stones and built Glasgow Cathedral. Assuming that Wikipedia is right, of course, Cabinet Secretary.
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, it's now in the record, so it must be true. Briefly on volunteering support funds, I appreciate, Presiding Officer, I'm over my allotted time. In recognising the importance of the volunteer-lead efforts I've described, the Scottish Government is continuing to invest in inclusive volunteering through the Volunteering Support Fund. The Fund is investing £2.2 million across 25 to 27. And the fund helps organisations to recruit additional volunteers for volunteering projects, focuses in particular on supporting individuals who face barriers to volunteering, such as those from black and minority ethnic communities, disabled people, those with long-term health conditions as well. And by prioritising diversity, the fund aims to broaden the volunteer base within the sector. Some of the projects funded in the area include Camglen Radio, a 24/7 community radio station serving Cambuslang and Rutherglen, with a core aim of addressing inequality, promoting inclusion and improving well-being by giving local people a voice, and their project includes targeted outreach sessions to engage underrepresented groups in the area. Another VSF grant will help Project 31 to support people living in Cambuslang and Rutherglen, particularly children, families, parents and carers and older people. It delivers a significant amount of outdoor activity for free at the point of contact, ensuring people are not prevented from participating by the impact of poverty. So, to conclude, Presiding Officer, I'd like to congratulate Claire Hothby, congratulate Rutherglen on its 900th anniversary celebrations and pay particular tribute to the community of volunteers that have made it all happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cabinet Secretary. That concludes the debate, and in order to allow Bob Doris time to get to his next contemporary dance class, I suspend this meeting until 2 o'clock.